And I think I'm on. Hi, my name is Tyriece Simon, and this is the midweek Renegade solo, running solo here. No Elijah. Elijah's in school studying, trying to get his. I think if he passes this, he could graduate. So, good for Elijah. But no, this is me by myself. Me by myself. Let me take his water real quick. Uh, yeah. So, I wanted to do a little bit of extra content for you guys during the week, just to hold you over till Sunday. Um, and we're supposed to have an interview out this week, but we have to reschedule it for Saturday. So there's that. So I'm going to do an interview on Saturday, and then we're going to do a UFC 262 recap show on Sunday, and then we're going to hopefully have the interview done and put out with clips and stuff like that of our guy Bellator, who make his Bellator debut in the lightweight division, Sean Felton Jr. We'll have that interview done and posted either Sunday morning or Monday morning. We'll have that done. So look out for that. But this is the first, just a trial episode to see how you guys like it, how you guys like the extra content, extra discussion going on in this channel. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this show and give me suggestions, get your feedback if you're live. Definitely appreciate you commenting on. And if you're watching on VOD, tell us what you think. But let's start with this, right? So UFC just announced, or Brett Okamoto by the UFC just announced, because Brett Okamoto works for ESPN, that the UFC is looking at, for the middleweight division, Darren Till versus Derek Brunson, I think in August. And then they're looking at Paulo Costa, the return of Paulo Costa and Jared Cannonier. You have having it. So Brunson Till is August 14th, and literally a week later is Paulo Costa and Jared Cannonier. That I would assume would be to see who's going to be the next challenger for Izzy Adesanya or the Montetori after their fight in June, which is interesting. One, because they're continuing to push Darren Till as a potential contender to fight Israel Adesanya, which I think is interesting because Darren Till has literally won one fight out of his last four. He beat Kevin Gastelum by split decision in Madison Square Garden, which I was there for. It was a very close fight, but he's lost to Bobby Knuckles. He's lost to Tyron Woodley. He's lost to Jorge Masvidal. Right, so Darren Till has only won one fight, and that was 2 years ago, but it was a split decision to a guy that did at one point was fighting for an interim title, but has since has troubles in the middleweight division. So that's interesting. So, but they're looking for Darren Till. They're looking for Darren Till to fight Israel Adesanya. Hopefully, if he get a win, maybe they do that fight. Maybe they do that fight in England. But I think the interesting thing there is Paulo Costa versus Jared Cannonier. That fight is interesting because this is the first fight Paulo Costa has come back from his loss against Israel Adesanya, where we all know Israel Adesanya beat the brakes of Paulo Costa, and from there we've seen Paulo Costa had these stories about how he was drinking the night before, and there was injuries and stuff like that, which had a really bad public perception of Paulo Costa after his fight. So let me see how that fight plays out. And also Jared Cannonier is coming off the loss against Bobby Knuckles. But people forget, in that third round, he hurt Bobby Knuckles. He had Bobby Knuckles in trouble a little bit. So it's interesting to see how that fight plays out. I think Jared Cannonier, if he beats Paulo Costa, maybe you do Bobby Knuckles rematch, because they seem to not want to give it to Robert Whittaker. Maybe do that fight. And for Paulo Costa, I really want to know where his head's at after the Israel Adesanya loss, because it seems like a lot of excuses, or a lot of mental issues coming out to that fight. So interesting to see where he goes from there. I don't think the one wild card in this whole scenario where you got Darren Till versus Derek Brunson, you have Jared Cannonier versus Paulo Costa. The wild card in all of this is what does Uriah Hall play in all of this, right? Because Uriah Hall is on a win streak of his own right now. He's just coming off the win over Chris Weidman, either checking the leg. I don't know what's like. I don't know if it was to check the leg, but he definitely uh, benefited from Chris Weidman, breaking his leg. Hopefully, Chris Weidman recovers soon. But a win's a win, and Uriah Hall is on a win streak. That style of Uriah Hall and Israel Adesanya does make for some fascinating fantasy matchup where you have these styles clashing, both artsy, both have unique styles to them, and I think that would be an amazing fight. So I wonder if Darren Till doesn't beat Derek Brunson, and I doubt they'll give Derek Brunson a title shot off of Darren Till, and let's say Jared Cannonier beats Paulo Costa, which I doubt they'll give Jared Cannonier a title shot before they give Rob Whittaker. What if they say, you know what, we're not going Rob Whittaker for whatever reason. Either he's hurt or he's not. We can't come to terms with the fight. What if they do Uriah Hall? I think that fight makes sense for Israel Adesanya versus Uriah Hall, especially now. You have Uriah Hall on a win streak, and you have Israel Adesanya, who has a unique style. Those two can have a great fight, and Uriah Hall finally gets his title shot, and whatever happens there, what happens there. But I think that'll be a fascinating matchup. Also, you have Marvin Vettori. Marvin Vettori beats Israel Adesanya. Uriah Hall, you got that rematch there. So there's different ways they could do with the middleweight division that I like. But I would not doubt Uriah Hall signing his way to sneak into that title picture, depending on the results of these two fights. Because if they haven't given it to Rob Whittaker yet, I wonder what's the holdup. And if Paulo Costa, Jared Cannonier, I don't see any of them getting up that title shot right after this. After their fight, I don't see Darren Till and the only exception is Darren Till. The only exception, honestly, is Darren Till. Everything really rides on if Darren Till can go in there and beat a Derek Brunson. Once that fight happens, if Darren Till beats Derek Brunson, that's a big if. Then you may get Izzy versus Darren Till, and maybe they do that in England. Because I would imagine it would do big business in England. That's more of that would be more of an international fight than I think would be in the States was. So I would hope they would try to book that in England or in Australia. But that's the middleweight picture right now in the UFC in the summer. So they're planning ahead. Hopefully we'll see Israel Adesanya or Vettori defend that title one more time this year to continue progression in the division. So there's that. That was some good fighting news. But also I want to check with you guys, right? So please let me know in the chat and the VOD or whatever. What is your excitement level for UFC 262? Because my excitement level, it feels like just another fight card. And you have Michael Chandler, you have Charles Oliveira, you have Tony Ferguson, you have Beneil Dariush. Edson Barboza and Shane Burgos is flying under the radar on this card. You have some good quality fights. And I'm just not feeling it. I'm just not feeling it. This is going to be a $69.99 pay-per-view card, which our viewers, hopefully you're watching it. But yeah, man, I this excitement level for UFC 262 is just not there for me. Maybe Friday may come the day of. I'll get that excitement level. We're gonna watch it. We're gonna review. We're gonna talk about it on Sunday. But the excitement level is just not there for this card. And I did I went to go look at the embedded UFC embedded for this card. The UFC embedded pretty much a good tell on the excitement level of fans, and I think it's clocking in about like 500,000, 700,000 views for the embedded so far. And I like I know for sure the last pay per view we had with Jorge Maldonado and Usman, that was doing a million easy, a million views easily. Press conference, a million views plus. Embedded, million views plus. The countdown is a million views plus. So like I, for 700 views, it tells me that there is an excitement level for this card. I just don't know if it's gonna be like we're expecting 700,000 buys or 500,000 buys or something like that. I just don't know. Because me personally, I just have not felt this card at all, and that could be in part because the Dustin Poirier win, and now Dustin Poirier is the rightful number one contender, but he gave up the number one contender to fight Conor McGregor because that's a bigger fight, which kind of devalues this title fight itself. Um, you have Michael Chandler, who's just coming in. He beat Dan Hooker, and I just got to a conversation with Elijah the other day. I was like, with all the damage that Dan Hooker has dealt with in his last couple of fights, and the mental, the not mental issues, but the having to deal with the fact that you can't see your family for an extended period of time, being cooped up in a hotel to quarantine. How much does that play a mental factor into the fight? Right? Because we've heard Dan Hooker talk about that. We've seen his struggles publicly having to deal with that this past year. So I do wonder how much that plays into the fact and just where Dan Hooker's at in his career. Um, that being said, if we're doing predictions for this fight, Charles Oliveira to me is if you wanted to place your money on somebody, Charles Oliveira is the safe bet. He just overall he just has everything. He has the range. He has his striking is getting up there. He's getting more comfortable on the feet. If not that, he has the grappling. If not that, he has the jiu-jitsu off his back and on top. If not that, he also has great endurance. He could keep the pace going for at least 3 rounds. We'll see what he does in 5, but maybe he only needs is 3. We also know Michael Chandler's older. We also know that Michael Chandler has been through a lot of battles, a lot of wars, a lot of scars. How much did that play into a fact against somebody like a Charles Oliveira? There's a lot of factors into this fight that I'm like. It leans me towards Charles Oliveira beating Michael Chandler, maybe by uh, hmm, I can honestly see it. I can honestly see a TKO. I can see a TKO win for Charles Oliveira in maybe round 3 or maybe 4. I can see him building up the win, building up the stoppage into the later rounds, and it just takes him out of there. Um, I mean, Michael Chandler does have power in his hands. Michael Chandler can grapple. I just think Charles Oliveira is just too much for him. And another thing to keep in mind is Charles Oliveira is going to be way bigger. He's going to be way, way bigger in the octagon against Michael Chandler. Um, and the grappling, if Charles Oliveira's on top of you, that's a nightmare. The range, I think he could deal with the range of Michael Chandler. No, Michael Chandler. I wonder if he could deal with the range of Charles Oliveira. Um, and I think Charles Oliveira could take hits well too. So I just wonder if I just wonder if Michael Chandler can make this fight. He has elements, but I think it's just Charles Oliveira who just wins this fight. And I wonder if this fight is going to be a landslide victory for Charles Oliveira, or is Michael Chandler going to make this fight a little bit more interesting? But overall, I just have Oliveira beating Michael Chandler by TKO. I would say, if not round 3, round 4. Um, Beneil Dariush and Tony Ferguson. I think Tony Ferguson. I want to say Tony Ferguson gets the win, but That's another thing where it's like, is Tony Ferguson's is Father Time finally getting up to Tony Ferguson? I don't know. Bernard Dariush does have can strike. He's not gonna blow you away with it. Compared to Tony Ferguson, his grappling is really really good. I wonder if that causes for Tony Ferguson. That'll be telling. That'll be the most telling thing. If Benil Dariush grappling overwhelms Tony Ferguson, then I think you could put to rest the thoughts of what could be Nurmagomedov versus Tony Ferguson would be. If Benil Dariush is able to manhandle Tony Ferguson, even with the crazy grappling maneuvers and Tony Ferguson in his own right has a very good guard and is a I believe it's a black belt under Eddie Bravo. If he's able to control Tony Ferguson, I think we can finally put to rest the thought process of Khabib versus Tony Ferguson, what that fight would have been. I think the Charles Oliveira one was eye opening. I think this one would put the nail in the coffin of just like what that fight would have been. We'll never get that fight, but it's what that fight would have been. But I'm going to go Tony Ferguson just because I hope that Father Time has not touched Tony Ferguson on the shoulder and said time is up. I do, because I think there's still some exciting fights Tony Ferguson to have. I think he's still a name in the UFC, and I think a Dustin Poirier, Tony Ferguson, a Conor McGregor, Tony Ferguson, a Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson, Charles Oliveira versus Tony Ferguson. I think there's still some exciting fights for Tony Ferguson to have for the rest of his career. I just don't know if Father Time has finally tapped him on the shoulder and said it's over, dog. And Benil Dariush is a great grappler. He had trouble with Charles Oliveira. I'm telling you, man, if Benil Dariush manhandles Tony Ferguson, oh, hey, Flap, how you doing? How you doing, Flap? Just so your live stream pop up. Yeah. You gotta click the notification, buddy. Click the notification. You never know when I'll go live. But we're probably gonna aim for Thursday afternoon or evening. I'll figure out a correct time for you guys to come in to watch. I'm just talking about Tony Ferguson and Benil Dariush and how this fight is telling to see where Tony Ferguson would have been against Khabib. Yeah, if Benil Dariush goes in there and just dominates grappling wise Tony Ferguson, kind of like what Charles Oliveira was doing, but if he's able to control and hold and just smother a Tony Ferguson, I think we can finally put to rest the Khabib talk. That was my main point with that. But overall, honestly, man, Flathead, I don't have much excitement level for this card. I don't. And I think the reason why, and this is a great transition, why this fight probably won't do as big as the one in June, for obvious reasons. But the main obvious one is no Nate Diaz. I think the loss of Nate Diaz on this card drastically hurt what this card was supposed to be. And I thought Nate Diaz versus Leon Edwards was a great 5-round co-main event. It probably could have been the main event, honestly, if we're being honest. If we're looking at who drives in people the eyes and attention, it'd probably be Nate Diaz against Michael Chandler or Charles Oliveira. Right? And now we got Nate Diaz on the same card as Israel Adesanya. Think about this for a second. Think about this for a second. You have Nate Diaz, who's already a big star, who we know can bring in, 700,000 buys or maybe in a million, maybe crack a million. We know Nate Diaz could do that. Then you take Nate Diaz and put him next to Israel Adesanya, who we've seen could crack at least 700,000 buys. So now you have Nate Diaz and Israel Adesanya on the same card. That's going to do big business. Which is amazing to me that they decided to put Nate Diaz and Israel Adesanya on the same card. Sorry. But it just goes to show you just the lack of star power for this one. Like Michael Chandler is somebody that is a Bellator legend, is probably one of the best lightweights that didn't fight in the UFC, now in the UFC, so that should be talked about a lot more. Versus a Charles Oliveira, who is a guy that has been in the UFC for a long time, that they even talked about. He made his UFC debut on, I think, a card that John Jones was headlining. I forgot what it was. I think it was the same card John Jones was headlining before John Jones became champion. And in theory, it's a great story. There's a great story between Charles Oliveira, somebody that's been rising up to the ranks, versus a guy that literally get a title shot after his first fight in. So there is that dynamic of, hey, the guy that's been being the statesman in the division has fought the who's who, that has fought in featherweight in the lightweight division. Now finally getting his chance versus a guy that is just getting his chance off of one fight. Like, there is that drama dynamic, but that's not really being played up a lot. But overall, it's just like, I think there's nothing the UFC could do to bring this card up. And I've tried to talk to some people within the MMA circle, and they're kind of agree. Like, this fight, it's hard to tell where it's going to go. Their excitement level is not really all that there for it. The traffic doesn't seem all that there for it. But who knows? Who knows? You said flat positive. I think we've gotten spoiled, but yeah, absolutely. We have gotten spoiled with some of the recent stellar cards. Like the last main event, the pay-per-view card you could probably compare this to was the Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns, right? But even that had an interesting dynamic to it, right? It had the, ex-teammates, now rivals. You said yeah, I know. You're the one that was championing him. You was the one that was championing to get a title shot, right? The Gilbert Burns and Kamaru Usman pay-per-view wasn't like, it wasn't eye-opening, but it had an interesting dynamic to it, right? It had the ex-teammates, now rivals. Was little brother going to be big brother? I mean, little brother being Gilbert Burns, big brother being Kamaru Usman. It had that dynamic to it, and we've also seen Gilbert Burns win a couple of impressive fights leading up to that fight. So we was like, okay, what would happen if Kamaru Usman was to get hit by Gilbert Burns? We've seen what happened. But that had an interesting dynamic to it, to where there was story and drama built into it, into the fight card. This one, not as much. It's only going by, it was going by Nate Diaz. If we're being completely honest, it was going by Nate Diaz being on this card, and now Nate Diaz being off the card. You know what I mean? It shows the power of not only Nate Diaz brothers, and how even with losses, even with time going by, there's still a big draw. So hopefully, Flathead, you're watching this card. I want to what's your excitement level is for this card. Are you as excited as, let's say, the card? Are you as excited as the Gilbert Burns and Kamaru Usman card? I think that's a fair comparison. You can't really compare it to next month. You can't compare it to last month. But are you as excited or more excited than the Gilbert Burns and Kamaru Usman fight when it first was announced? So that was my question to you, Flash. Anybody watching? Because for me, I was more excited for Gilbert Burns and Kamaru Usman than this card, and even that one was like, was $69.99 really worth it? And we ended up doing it, but it's hard to, and I told this a lot, it's hard to really gauge like what is $69.99 worth, right? Because we had last month we had 3 title fights on the card for $69.99. Next month we're gonna have three stellar title fights with Israel Adesanya and Nate Diaz on the same card for $69.99. That's yes, yeah. Burns Usman. Is your excitement level? Do you have more excitement for Chandler versus Oliveira than do you have for Burns versus Usman? Or is it just about the same? That's my question to you. We've got 3 title fights in the last month with Jorge Masvidal and Kamaru Usman headlining. We have Israel Adesanya and Nate Diaz both fighting on the card in June. Also, let me see. He says, not as excited as I was. Yep. There you go. You hit around the head. Not as excited as I was for the Usman fight, right? Because there was story to it. There was a story to it. There was a danger to it. There was a dramatic feel to it. It was, can Kamaru Usman deal with the power of Gilbert Burns? Gilbert Burns was knocking people out, or he was hurting people. He was hurting people with his hands. We've seen Usman get cutsed up against Colby Covington. So it was like, can Gilbert Burns hurt Usman? And also the fact of, can like its ex teammates, now rivals, going against each other. So there was that storyline going into it as well. So like there was a drama to it. There was a story to it. This one doesn't really have that. It was going by Nate Diaz on this card, and then now it's slowly going to. I see DFC's trying to do it with Charles Oliveira finally getting his shine and stuff like that, but it's a little bit too late. A little bit too late in the game. They're already promoting June card. They're already promoting June with Adesanya Vittori, which that's a phenomenal fight. Me and Elijah even thought about even going to Arizona to go see that fight just because of how stellar it is. But yeah, this one is just not clicking for me. And we'll watch it. We'll recap it. We'll talk about it. We'll be here on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock to discuss it. But man, this one is just not hitting at all. And I feel bad for Charles Oliveira. I feel bad for Michael Chandler because Dustin Poirier kind of devalued the title fight beforehand with the I'll fight Conor McGregor, who's coming off a loss against. We'll do a trilogy fight. Then I'll take this lightweight title fight, which is supposed to be the biggest prize in the division. And you say, nah, I'm gonna go with Conor McGregor. And now you have this fight where the UFC is just not pumping enough story into it. They're not putting much attention to it. Insiders don't even care. So how do you expect the public fans, the general fans, to want to care for this fight either? So I feel bad for those guys. But he said, Flat Potter says, you're right. There's no backstory for the Oliveira fight. The entire card is very generic. You know what? Right, Flat Politics. You know why it's generic? It's generic because they're not pumping it up. Imagine the last card, they were pumping that up. They were building that up. It was hey, there's a fight happening in what was the last one? April with Kamaru Usman, Jorge Masvidal, Weili Zhang, Rose Namajunas. Valentina Shevchenko is going to catch a body again. There was that type of excitement, that type of enthusiasm. This was announced, 2 months ago, where we're talking about in Houston with fans. Probably going to be the biggest arena they've done so far, during the COVID era so far. And there's just no buzz. I've even gone to see people wanted to trading their tickets back. They're selling their tickets from this fight to go to the next card, to go to June with Nate Diaz, with Israel Adesanya, Marvitori, Brendan Moreno and Figueiredo. That fight's flying under the radar in June. That's happening on the same card. You're getting one of the best fights of the year of 2020 on the card of Israel Adesanya and Nate Diaz, and that's under the radar. So it's like they're the UFC and Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira. They're fighting a losing battle against, trying to get people to care for this card and pay $69.99. And it sucks. It sucks. So. We'll talk about it again. We'll talk about it. We'll discuss it. We'll recap it. We'll give you a breakdown of the fight. But man, I just don't know. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about this card. I know you have two people going. We appreciate you. Please like the stream, share it, and yeah. And lastly, that's the one I want to bring up. Speaking of Nick Diaz, is Nick Diaz, right? So Nick Diaz. We've seen, what was it? What card was it? I believe it was the April one. It wasn't a fight. It was the April card, the pay-per-view, and we've seen Nick Diaz there. And we've been hearing since last year, since either mid or late last year, from Nick Diaz's manager, hey, Nick Diaz wants to come back. Nick Diaz wants to fight again. Nick Diaz is in shape. Nick Diaz looks like he's in the best shape of his career right now. And he wants to fight. He wants to come back. He has that drive in him again to fight. And so Nick Diaz has been training. Nick Diaz trained with Nate. And we haven't heard from anything from him. So when Nick Diaz with Dana White, we said, okay, we're gonna get some fight announcements soon and stuff like that. And then we got the rumor that Kazmat Chimaev, the guy that is, Had an impressive 2020 during the COVID era. Unfortunately, he got COVID himself and is trying to battle back from it, and you know, hopefully he recovers well. From the videos I've seen, from the stuff I'm hearing, it doesn't look good. It's like he's going through a lot of shit, and you know, but they were talking about him versus Nick Diaz, and Nick Diaz put that to bed already. He said, no, we're not fighting Khamzat Chimaev. We want a name that, you know, we're not fighting a guy that just came out in 2020. We want somebody that's established. We want somebody that will bring the general audience. We want to fight. We want to fight for somebody that deserves a Nick Diaz fight. Which Nick Diaz is right. Chimaev is young in his career. He's still got a way to go. He still has people he can fight. Nick Diaz, there are a bunch of names that Nick Diaz can fight. Hell, he can fight Donald Cerrone. Right? But Dana White came out, I think, with Brett Okamoto on Monday and said this, that Nick Diaz, he spoke with him, he doubts that Nick Diaz has the drive to compete again. He sees a lot of young up-and-comers, and Nick Diaz doesn't have that in him. And I took that not as Nick Diaz doesn't have the drive. It's that Dana White doesn't want him to fight. Dana White doesn't want him to fight, or Nick Diaz and Dana White relationship is that rocky that Dana White doesn't want to work with Nick Diaz, which is crazy to think, right? Because Nick Diaz is this star. Nick Diaz, the older brother of Nate Diaz. You would think, hey, if I have Nate Diaz, I could pull in, you know, let's say I have Nate Diaz come in June, right? That fight card probably does 1 million buys. Let's be honest. Let's say August, so we have Conor in July. That could do 1 million, right? So you have 1 million in June. You have 1 million in July. Let's say you put Nick Diaz versus whoever in August. I would imagine that does close to 1 million buys, just because of the star power. Nick Diaz, even though he's been away from the sport, even though his last fight was against Anderson Silva in a weird fight, there was great memes, but a weird fight nonetheless, he is still a big name. Probably if Nick Diaz is active on the roster, probably top 5. Probably top 5 right now. But they bench him. They say Dana White comes out publicly and says he doesn't have that heart in him. He doesn't have that drive in him. He doesn't have that fire in him, which devalues your star. And all the while, Nick Diaz, as the promoter, your job is to help promote fight. If these fighters are independent contractors, your job is to give them fights, right? They're not employees, they're independent contractors. I say you have these amount of fights on your deal, you commit to those fights, I help you get those fights together, and the magic happens. What happens now when a promoter or a company says, hey, we don't see that drive in you, you can't come to work? Think about that for a second. The promoter is publicly saying, yeah, we don't think he has that drive in him. We don't think he has that fire in him. He's older. You know, we're not gonna give him a fight. But at the same time, you can't fight anywhere else. So now you can't do your job. Now you can't make your money. It's not an independent contractor. That's not how this works. That's not how this works. I have a fight deal. You promote the fights. You give me the fights. I commit to those fights. I commit to my contract. You cannot say, yeah, we're not going to use you, or we're not going to do anything with you, and we're not going to pay you. And so now we're at a standpoint now where the UFC, and I think Jon Jones has a similar problem, similar but different, where Dana White's relationship with Jon Jones is rocky, but it's more of a money thing. And this could be too, but it's Nick Diaz, as he gets older and older and older, actually it's almost like Jon Jones. He gets older and older and older. His time to be able to utilize his name and value in this combat sports game gets less and less and less. He like his value decreases more as the day goes by. His value decreases more and more and more. And the UFC plays this game where they are just, we're not going to use you. We're not going to let you fight. We're not going to let you do anything with you. But we're not going to get you out your contract. Nick Diaz goes to PFL. Huge news. It makes PFL more of a household name than it is. Nick Diaz goes to Bellator. Oh, Bellator, Showtime. Actually, perfect. Bellator, Showtime, Nick Diaz. That makes total sense, right? You know, all the Strikeforce fans they'll want to come back and watch Nick Diaz on Showtime, right? No, we're not going to do that. PFL, we're not going to do that. We're going to hold out Nick Diaz and probably what is left of him in this MMA game. We're going to leave him out to just sit down and wait until hopefully fans forget. Yeah, Nick Diaz is 37. Yeah. 37 years old, right? And he got suspended. He got suspended for I believe marijuana. Oh no, not marijuana. No, it was because he didn't disclose his I believe, right, don't quote me on this, but I believe he didn't disclose his area or location for USADA testing, and they gave him a ban, a suspension. He was fighting that, and he just got cleared last year off of that, right? So you know the marijuana situation and stuff like that. So it's a mess. But like Nick Diaz, yes, he's maybe 37 years old. Is he 30? He turned 38 this year. Let me see. Live on stream. Let me see how old Nick Diaz is. Okay, so boom. No, he turns 38 in August. So he turns 38 in August, right? So we're talking a 38-year-old Nick Diaz has been away from the sport since 2015. 2015, right? So we're talking years and years off his career, years and years of what he could have done. And, at 38 years old, we're trying to see if he could cash in on his name. We could see if we could, see if he has that drive, see if he has that focus in him. We're not going to do it. The UFC doesn't want to do it. And it's a shame because fighters continue to see themselves in a situation where they have no leverage, they have no power, they have nothing they could do about it. Nick Diaz has nothing he could do about it. Thankfully, Dan Hardy has been asking him for his release and finally got it today. But how long has Dan Hardy been talking about how he wants to fight? Or how bad he wants to fight? And he wants to get cleared. I wish fighters would look at these situations with Nick Diaz, look at the situations with Dan Hardy, look at the situations with John Jones, look at the situations with Conor McGregor, look at these situations with name all and say, okay, we got to do something different. We have to collectively do something different and try to protect ourselves and get some leverage out of this. Because there's no way, and as an independent contractor, you can be told, hey, we're not going to use you, but we're not going to let you work anywhere. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But they go along with it. And it's continued happening. And so we're going to see more. I believe we're going to see more of these cases. This is not going to be the end all be all. We're going to see more Nick Diaz situations. We're going to see more John Jones situations. We're going to see more, Conor McGregor situations. And I'm just going to come here and talk about it. I'll come here and I'll speak on Midweek Renegade. I'll speak on MMA Renegade with Elijah, and we'll talk about it. But hopefully the fighters can look at this. Let me look at this video. I know someone watch this, but look at this video, and they think, like, what can we do to secure our future? What can we do to be able to, make money while we still can, but we're still able to? I don't know. I heard that news. I heard the interview and shit like that, and it made me sad. It made me sad and a little bit frustrated to see that at 37 years old, 38 years old, wanting a fight, can't get a fight, even though he wants one. and can't get let out of his contract. So it is what it is, man. Yeah, that's pretty much. Oh, I did want to bring this up. How Anthony Johnson is a moron. Flat pause. I don't know if you've seen this, but Anthony Johnson, I think no longer allegedly, he did take somebody's credit card and used it to get him a round trip from, believe it was from Florida to Connecticut. Sorry. Yeah, New Canaan Police is Connecticut news outlet. Online records show that Johnson, 37, was arrested Saturday and faces multiple charges on identity theft. According to a police report, the arrest stemmed from a 2019 complaint in which an alleged victim claimed their credit card was being used by a third party without permission. After the card was used to purchase a round-trip airline ticket from Florida to New Jersey. Sorry, so New Jersey. And the name of the passenger on the ticket was Anthony Johnson. A police investigation determined that Johnson, who lived in Deerfield Beach, Florida, where he trains at Sanford MMA, illegally obtained the credit card to purchase the airline ticket. An arrest warrant for Johnson subsequently was obtained. 18 months after the complaint, he was taken from the Mohegan Sun Arena into police custody on Saturday, one night after his knockout over Jose Augusto to advance to Bellator light heavyweight Grand Prix semifinals. Johnson was released a $500 bond and received a June 8th court date, according to police reports. This is from the Daily Voice. First reported on. Rumble, haven't heard of this. Yeah. So, Rumble Johnson continued to do dumb shit again, and I don't know. The Bellator hasn't commented on it. Anthony Johnson hasn't commented on it yet, so we'll see what happens there. But that doesn't look good, not at all. So we'll see what that. Yeah, I thought that was. It's serious news, but it's also like it's such an MMA thing to do. Like when you think about that happening to Rumble Johnson, that being an MMA story does not surprise me at all. Hopefully he gets his life together, man. Hopefully he says some shit. There's other shit that Rumble Johnson has done in the past where it's like, you wonder where he's at mentally. And you wonder how come any promoter hasn't stepped in or promotion has stepped in and like looked at his claims or looked at these issues that he has that are public. So it is what it is. I think he had a domestic allegedly he had a domestic dispute not even 2 years ago that I don't think anybody really paid attention to. So I don't know. But yep, that's the midweek recap. We'll talk more news that if it comes out this Sunday with Elijah. We'll talk about UFC 262, which hopefully you guys are interested in. Hopefully you guys are excited for. And yeah, we'll talk about it. But my prediction, just final thoughts, my prediction, Charles Oliveira wins by TKO, if not the third round, the fourth round. That's my bold prediction. All right, so thank you guys. This is a trial test. We want to see how you guys like it. If you guys like it, please give me a thumbs up. Please give me a tell me in the comments what you think of the show, what you'd like me to improve on. And until next time, I'll see you guys on Sunday. Signing off, my name is Tyriece Simon, and this is the Midweek Renegade. See you later, guys.